It was 6:45 p.m. on a Thursday. I was the only student left in the library, trying to finish a history project that was due the next morning. The librarian, Mrs. Gable, had already left, but the janitor let me stay as long as I turned off the lights when I left. The school was dead silent, just the hum of the vending machine in the hall and the scratching of my pen. Suddenly, the PA system crackled to life. It was a loud, static pop that made me jump. Then, a robotic, pre-recorded voice echoed through the empty building. Code red. Lockdown. This is not a drill. Locks, lights, out of sight. The message repeated twice, then cut off. I froze. My first thought was that it had to be a glitch. A system error. Who calls a lockdown at 7 p.m. when the school is empty? But instinct took over. I turned off the lamp on my desk and crawled underneath it, pulling my knees to my chest. I sat there in the dark, listening. For 5 minutes, there was nothing, just the settling of the building. Then I heard it. Heavy boots on the linoleum floor. Thud, thud, thud. They were slow, deliberate steps coming down the main hallway. They weren't the janitor's shuffling walk. These were heavy. The steps stopped right outside the library's double doors. I held my breath. I watched the handle of the door slowly turn downwards. Locked. I had locked it when Mrs. Gable left. The handle rattled violently for a second, then stopped. The footsteps started to walk away, fading down the hall. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I was safe. And then... my phone, which I had left face up on the table above me, vibrated. The screen lit up with a notification, casting a bright blue glow around the dark room. The vibration sounded like a gunshot in the silence. The footsteps in the hallway didn't just stop. They turned around, and then they started running, sprinting back toward the library doors. I scrambled backward just as the glass window on the door shattered inward. I didn't wait to see who it was. I ran out the back emergency exit and triggered the alarm. They never found anyone inside, but the security footage showed a man in a welding mask walking the halls with a crowbar. When you're a college student moving into your first off-campus apartment, you don't ask questions when you see the word free. I was scrolling through Craigslist looking for furniture, and I found it. A pristine, dark leather sectional. The ad said, "Free to anyone who can pick it up today. Moving out, need it gone." It seemed like the perfect deal. I borrowed my dad's pickup truck and drove out to the address. It was in a quiet, older suburb about 30 minutes from campus. I pulled up to the house around 6 p.m. The sun was just starting to set, casting long orange shadows across the lawns. The house looked normal, a beige ranch style with a manicured lawn. But something felt off. All the blinds were drawn tight, and there was no other car in the driveway. I walked up to the front door and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. From deep inside the house, a muffled male voice yelled out, "It's open. Come on in. I'm in the garage out back." Against my better judgment, I turned the knob. It was unlocked. I stepped inside. The first thing that hit me was the smell. It didn't smell like a home. It smelled overwhelming, like bleach and industrial cleaner, barely masking something rotten underneath. The living room was completely empty. No furniture, no boxes, nothing. Just bare carpet. "Hello?" I called out. "Keep walking. Through the kitchen." the voice shouted back. It sounded calm, too calm. I walked through the empty kitchen. The silence in the house was heavy. I reached the door leading to the garage and opened it. I expected to see a moving chaos. Boxes, the leather couch, a guy stressed about packing. Instead, the garage was empty. Well, almost empty. In the absolute center of the concrete floor sat a single wooden chair. It was facing a tripod with a video camera mounted on it. The red recording light was blinking. There was no couch. The walls of the garage were covered in plastic sheeting, taped carefully at the seams. My stomach dropped. I turned around to leave, but the door behind me slammed shut. I heard the distinct click of a deadbolt sliding home. I spun back toward the garage interior. A man stepped out from the shadows in the corner. He was wearing a plastic rain poncho and holding a hammer. He wasn't frantic or angry. He looked bored. He pointed at the wooden chair with the hammer. "You fit the description perfectly," he said softly. "Sit down." I didn't think. I didn't try to negotiate. Adrenaline flooded my system. I grabbed a heavy metal shovel that was leaning against the wall and swung it blindly at him. He flinched, stepping back, and I used that split second to throw myself at the side door of the garage. I fumbled with the latch, screaming as I felt his hand grab my jacket. I ripped free, tumbled out onto the grass, and sprinted to the truck. I never looked back. I learned later that the house had been foreclosed on months ago. Nobody was supposed to be living there. My grandfather always told me, never stay on the lake after the mist rolls in. I thought it was just old superstition. Last summer, my friend Chris and I decided to go night fishing on Lake Erie. Fitting name, I know, but that's what locals call it. We took my small aluminum boat out around 11 p.m. The water was like glass, dead calm. We cut the engine in the middle of the lake, about a mile from the shore. For the first hour, it was peaceful. We had our lanterns on, drinking beer, waiting for a bite. But then, the temperature dropped. I mean, it plummeted, and the fog started to rise off the water. It wasn't gradual. It was like a wall of white smoke swallowing us. Within minutes, we couldn't see the shoreline anymore. Just gray nothingness in every direction. We decided to pack up. As I reached for the anchor rope, I heard a splash. Not a fish jumping. It was heavy, like a bowling ball being dropped into the water right next to the boat. Splash. Chris laughed nervously. "Did you drop something?" I shone my flashlight into the black water. Nothing. Just ripples spreading out. Then came the knocking. It was rhythmic, and it was coming from under the boat, right beneath my feet. The aluminum hull vibrated with each hit. It wasn't a log hitting us. It was deliberate. Someone or something was testing the metal. Chris grabbed an oar, his face pale. "Start the engine," he whispered. I fumbled with the starter cord. Sputter. Die. I pulled again. Nothing. The knocking stopped. Silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Then, Chris pointed his beam out into the fog, about 20 feet away. "Look," he choked out. I followed his light. Breaking the surface of the black water was a hand. Just a hand and a forearm, pale as bone. It wasn't swimming. It was just sticking straight up, motionless, like a statue. And then, slowly, it turned. The fingers curled, beckoning us, inviting us in. I screamed and ripped the starter cord with everything I had. The engine roared to life. I didn't care about the direction. I just gunned it. We flew blindly through the fog, almost hitting a dock before we finally saw the shore lights. We never went back for the anchor. We just left the boat there and ran to the truck. To this day, I don't go near water at night.